Hello. Recently I've been asked several times to do a planks tutorial, so that's what we'll be doing today. So first thing you want to do, I work in a high resolution, 2048 as you can probably see there. So I've got my main, this is going to be my main texture block. And then what we're going to do, since this is planks, we're also going to make another one. You want the width to be the same as your terrain block, but you want the height to be the height of your plank. I'm going to do 8 planks per terrain block, so we're going to do, see, that's going to be 256, something like this, except I did it the wrong way. So eventually my planks are going to be horizontal like this, but when you start out you want to have them, I want this one, upright, like this. Alright, so let's go pick a color, let's do something like this, except change it a little bit because that's a little bit too brown. I don't know, it's wood, but I want to go with a hardwood, kind of a mahogany, I think, something like that. Yeah, it looks nice. Alright, so secondary, this one right here, and what you want to do is make a secondary slightly darker than your primary. So we're just going to drop all this by 40, I think. So let's maybe just 30. That way we keep a little bit of color in it. So we just do it straight like that. Something like that. Alright. I'm going to go over here to render fibers. And see, you can already tell in this little window that's got a nice wood texture to it. About there. Alright, something like that. Yeah, looks nice. Let's zoom out to 20% so we can see this entire thing. Alright, so Control A select all, Control C copy, Control V paste. We're doing this because we want to add another layer of fibers, because wood is not just one layer of fibers, I guess. So you're going to turn this up quite a bit, probably about there. Turn the strength up to make it a little bit more linear. About there. Alright, let's zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. And Control U will bring up your hue saturation. Drop the saturation, bring up the lightness a tiny bit, and then put it as a hard light overlay. And then we're going to have to go here to brightness and contrast. And bring up the contrast, bring up the brightness. Bring up the brightness a little bit more, contrast down. So, as you may have noticed, the higher the contrast, ooh, that's gross, the rougher the look of the wood here. So that's important. If you want to go for a really beat up looking plank, you're going to want to have a really high contrast. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So then we combine these layers and make a new one, but we don't really need that yet. So now we can flip this on its side. Alright, for this we're going to zoom out a little bit more. 50%. And layer style. See this little thing right here? That means that you can't do a lot with it. So you want to double click, hit OK, and it'll take that off. Now you can add a layer style to it, which is not the layer style I wanted, but that's alright. Okay, now let's see. For some reason, there we go. Oh, my light source is being weird. Okay. Alright, so the way this thing works is you got your different techniques, you got your different bevels. I typically go with smooth because I don't like the chiseled look as much. It's too hard, I guess. This also increases the how hard the texture itself looks. You got a higher gleam, it looks more polished, and it looks more, I don't know, almost marbly. But we're going to keep it down here. This is your size of the bevel. So if you want to completely weird it out plank, yeah. We're gonna put it about there. Alright, so these are the ways that the shading and lighting works. This one right here, this isn't a very good example, but if you want to get a good metallic look, these two are the really good ones to do that with. But that's not what we're doing here, so. Alrighty, I think that's good. So, we'll merge the layers again. And then we do that because if you just copy this straight over to here, without those layers merged, then it doesn't copy the bevel effect, and you've kind of wasted your time a little bit. So here we go, making a nice little pattern here. I do it weird and offset and jagged like this because I think it adds character, but it's not necessary. Alrighty, let's put this one close to the center. So there you go. I mean, that's a pretty decent plank texture. We're not done yet though. There's a lot more to be done. First of all, this is very flat. You've got some highlights, but that's about it. So one of the things that you can do at this point is take either the burn tool, which is right here. Hold down and it's right there. And you can take that and run it along the edges of it like this, which kind of give it a nice little a nice touch to them. Another thing that you can do is something that adds a similar effect. I used to use it a lot. I don't like it as more, but you can get, one second, the brush here and go with this really nice feathered one right here. Go with a really low opacity setting. Let's put this at 50. And then, you know, if you go to your swatches and go like straight black or something, you can add a nice shadow to it, but we're not going to use that right now. Oops, I want that to be 100, not 10. We are going to use it for highlights though, so wow. I think that needs to be a little bit more. 20. You don't want it to be too extreme because you're just trying to add a little bit of depth and to the plank. You don't want it to really stand out. Subtlety is the key. Something like that. A little bit more up here. A little bit more up here. Alrighty. That's looking pretty nice. Alright. Zoom in 100%, which brings us in real close. You can see the nice detail on that. Nice texturing going on. So if you study planks, which I strongly suggest people do, when you're making textures, actually look at the textures in real life. It helps a lot. But one of the things that you'll notice is there are knots in natural wood, and knots distort these grain lines here. So one of the ways to do this is take your elliptical tool like this, and accidentally I discovered that there's actually two different ways to do this. You can do a spherize, which kind of, it's a little hard to see, but if you see me playing with it over here, you can see what it does, which will bend it around, sort of like there's a knot in there. Another thing that you can do is select it again and use the twirl, which is, you know, you don't want a really extreme one, but something subtle like that. And it kind of looks like it's also bending around a knot here, and it's a nice little touch. It adds a lot to the plank texture, just that little tiny bit. And in my opinion, I think they both work just as well. This one's a little bit faster. Alright. So there's our plank texture. Yeah, that took all of what, 5-10 minutes? High res plank texture.